it's Marina, travel experta. Today we're going to be talking about living expenses in Guatemala. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. I get asked this question a lot, especially for people who want to move to Guatemala. What are the living expenses? So that is such a general question because what if you're single? What if it's just a couple? What if it's a family of three, a family of four, a family of five, right? And what if you like to live more of the upper scale versus, really roughing it? So there's obviously a huge array. I'm going to give you my version, and we live mid-range, right? Yes, we do like to splurge here or there once in a while, but we're more or less mid-range. We have a family of four. So I have two kids that do go to private schools. Nobody really sends their kids to public schools. There are, again, different options for private schools. We live in Antigua. I could give you a little bit of a range because we do send our children to Antigua Green School. I have an entire episode about Antigua Green School, so please go and listen to that about why we chose that school. However, there are international schools, there are more localized schools, and we pay per month on average around $600 per child. But you also have to pay a matriculation fee. There's also a family fee. There's all these different fees, right? So other schools are about $800 a month or $400 per month. And also the age of your kid, the younger they are, the lower the price. If my son just finished high school, he was on the very higher end of the price, the highest end of the price. So that is definitely something you need to take into account. How much that's going to cost you. So let's say on average per kid, including all these fees, you are looking between $500 to $1,000 per month per kid, right? Depending on the school. That's one expense. How about rent, right? If you have, again, family of four, we need at least a 3-4 bedroom house. So rent could go anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000, and obviously on the higher scale. We always chose to live inside a gated community. So that's going to be a teeny bit more expensive, obviously, but not that much more. You'll be surprised because the majority of places here are obviously in gated communities. Also, is it furnished, unfurnished? All of these you have to take into account. Are all your expenses included? I have an entire episode about how to find rentals in Guatemala. Make sure you go and listen to that one so you really get an idea of how the rental process works here in Guatemala. So let's say on average, you'll be paying for a family of four, $1,500, including all utilities and expenses, right? So you have to put that into a little box. Do you have a car? Do you have a vehicle? You do need a vehicle in Guatemala for the most part. You would need that, right? So you have insurance. You need to pay for the car. Insurance here is a lot lower than it is in other countries, but you still have to pay it, right? So the insurance, depending on your car age, could be anywhere between $200, between $50 a month to $200 per month, right? So you need to figure that out put that into account. I also have now about food and shopping and, basic necessities. I have an entire episode about that and how you could find the best prices for that. Make sure you go and check out shopping and food in Guatemala episode to get a good idea on that. But to be honest with you, at the end of the day, whenever I do all of my calculations for the month of necessities, food, other things, comes out to between $1,000 to $1,200, okay? And we're vegetarians, so we don't even eat the meat. And we don't buy cheese either. So again, you have to do your own calculations, but on average, let's say it's another $1,000. What if you have a dog? You have to add in again, maybe, it's only $100 per month extra. Depends on the size of your dog. Have that, put that in as well. Health insurance. We have local health insurance. Are you going to have local health insurance? Are you going to not have health insurance? Because if you're not going to have health insurance, that's okay. But remember, health does cost money, even if it is a lot lower. I have an entire episode about the healthcare of Guatemala. Make sure you go and listen to that one. Okay, we do have health insurance. We pay for the family about $400, no, about $300 per month. We don't have dental. A lot of people have a little bit lower. A lot of people have a little bit higher. So, all overall, I would say maybe $2,000 to $3,000 for the year for the health insurance. Okay. That's another expense that you need to really think about. How about having domestic help? I have another episode fully covering about domestic help in Guatemala. Make sure you go and listen to that one. But let's say you only have one cleaning lady and she's full time per month. So we're talking another $300 approximately per month. Okay. Electricity, well, we already put that into our expenses of the rental. Then what else? What other living expense do you really need? Because besides like the little luxuries of going out to eat, of traveling, I don't really consider those parts of living expenses, right? But just basic stuff, even clothing. So one thing about Guatemala, they have this thing called the pacas. It's used clothing, and they're brilliant. They're brilliant. So that could also be someplace that you go, but those are not really like the overhead basic necessities. So for us to just have basic living, comes out to be almost $4,000 per month, right? We're talking just schools, food, housing, and a few and insurances and a few other extras, right? Oh, and gasoline. Obviously, you have to put that into account. Gasoline, depending how much you drive, you have to put into that to account. Maybe another extra $100 to $200 per month. Gas is super expensive here. It is not cheap. It's always more expensive than it is in the United States. It's probably closer to European prices. So this is something you need to also take into account. Okay, and I'm not talking about if you have health care issues or whatever, like those are the extras. So for my family, our living expenses comes out to be between $4,000 or $5,000 per month regularly. And then if we have any extras, that's on top of that. Okay, if you have any questions more about this, I'm happy to help. You could also go to travelexperta.com, travelexpert with an A.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and share it with your friends. And remember to make every day an adventure.